quite aggressive right at the start with that big tank marine force and Banshee harassment. Very, very unusual when comparing it to his previous play in the tournament.
And you know, one other thing to really keep in mind here is this is going to be their third best of 3 in as many hours. And that means that they both know each other's style very well. They've seen it so many times. So we may see just a split-second decision to do a different build order, either to trick your opponent or to punish him for what you know he's likely to do.
I got a question for you guys. Do you think there's a chance we're going to see some aggressive all-in builds here because that would be so different from what we saw previously? I mean, is there a possibility of that?
I mean, I think that it's a little bit of a mistake to be doing it at this point because these players have clearly demonstrated, not just in this series, but in their winners bracket finals, that they are just good at StarCraft 2. And whenever you do an all-in, you're essentially saying, I am only going to be playing this game for 7 minutes, and those are all the decisions that I have. And it's kind of funny how often when you're in a tournament situation, you get that urge to just, oh, I want to cheese and end it immediately. I want the easy win. But as we've clearly seen, there really aren't any easy wins in this final match.
But at the same time, I think that they would be foolish not to just consider what they could do. For instance, NEXGenius, sometimes he makes very quick nexuses. And because of that, why not maybe, you know, trick him a little bit, throw up a couple proxy barracks, and see if you can maybe just catch him off guard, get a quick free win. That would definitely throw him off his game.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a best of 3, so I think the first game is always the comfort zone for people to cheese because even if it loses, it has your opponent on their toes for the remaining matches. Best of 5s are normally where we frequently see cheeses in game 1 because even if you lose, you have plenty of time to catch back up. It's just kind of intense because everything's on the line. I think if Loner were going to cheese, he would have done it in this previous best of 3.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So if he's going to cheese, maybe we'll see it in the first game of the best 3. Other than that, there's no feeling worse than just switching your strategy at the last second in the game that matters and losing.
Now it looks like the only person left to join the game is me. My computer's trying as hard as it can, and there we are.
All right, so we're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going into the second best of 3 in the StarCraft 2 Grand Finals live from Anaheim, California at Blizzcon 2010. If you would like Loner to pull this series through for a first-place victory, give a cheer for Loner. And of course, NEXGenius fans, the Protoss hero from South Korea, give a cheer if you want him taking the first-place ring tonight.
Up here at the north, on the old-school map, Lost Temple, of course, it's from StarCraft 1 and Warcraft 3, and now in StarCraft 2, we have Loner over here at the left as a Protoss is our Korean NEXGenius.
And you know, the maps that they've chosen for this match are quite similar to the last maps. We have Lost Temple, which was not used, and then we have Metalopolis and Scrap Station, both maps that we saw in the last pool. So obviously these players favoring those maps, but switching out Xel'Naga for Lost Temple.
Now let's talk a little bit about the history of what happened to these players in the winners finals. Interestingly enough, on Lost Temple, there's a lot of variation based upon the positions. If you are top versus right, you're close by air. If you're top versus bottom, you're just far away in general. But top versus left, what we have right now on Lost Temple are extremely close positions by ground. In fact, the exact same situation we found our players in the winners bracket, and Loner won that game convincingly with a very fast push. So let's see if NEXGenius does opt to do the same strategy twice in a row.
Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the third base is just so unbelievably hard to get on this map. Look, they both share the gold base, so that's almost not an option unless you're a fruit dealer. And then, of course, over here they share an island, so that makes it pretty tough to get a third base. So you end up in situations where you have to expand to the other mains, or sometimes this gold base down here. That means that harass play, if you're using warp prisms, or if you're using medevacs, that's going to be the way you're going to win. So we might see that in the late game here.
And something to take into consideration, this is an important map for Loner to win. If he loses this map, he's going to play on maps that are a lot longer. And overall, in general, the shorter the map, the happier the Terran.
Absolutely, and really, honestly, NEXGenius is the one who's been doing a lot more battling. He is the player who was knocked into the losers bracket, who's had to battle through White Raw. He's the player who had to win the last best of 3, only to be given a reset in the series, not a victory. And it looks like Loner is playing very, very normally at this point, getting a barracks, a gas, and a fast orbital command in the Protoss camp. Same thing.
So as you can see, this SCV here, he tried attacking the pylon. A lesser player would have pulled a probe off to try to attack it, but of course, the pylon has enough HP that he can get something out in time to do it. Look, he's going to do it again. Now, you guys might be thinking at home, well, so what? Why does it matter if he pulls up one probe? when there's so many probes, many minerals. Well, at this high-level play, it really means a lot. It has a huge impact because they never miss a beat, people like this. They never forget to make an SCV. They never forget to make a probe.
And if you pull a probe off mining, that's maybe 25, 50 minerals.
Yeah.
That's half a zealot. That's huge if you actually start having those numbers add up. And Loner might actually take out this pylon if he kept wailing away at it. But at the same time, looks like that scout is getting completely denied by Loner. And meanwhile, in Loner's base, doing the good old fast tech lab play on his barracks. We haven't seen him do this quite yet with a factory.
No, this is something completely new from Loner. I can't wait to see what strategy he does. And whatever it is, it's something that NEXGenius has not seen him do yet. So this is like what we were talking about before Day 9. He's switching up his play a little bit.
Absolutely, and it looks like, a Marauder Hellion push, one of my absolute favorite openings in Terran vs. Protoss. Pressure is going to be on fast.
Oh, this is a really good build. I think we saw OGS and Snare do this on the GSL. So,
yeah.
And he dominated with it. You can bust a ramp pretty quickly.
That's right. You know, the Hellion, it does a lot of splash damage. The problem with just attacking with Marauders is the probes can come out and help. With the Hellion there, they really can't because the Hellion will clean up the probes so fast. So this is going to be a very strong attack. And with just one Sentry out and one Stalker, NEXGenius is going to be hard-pressed to hold this.
Hellion moving forward has already picked off that one probe. NEXGenius has a a third finished Sentry. It is nowhere near finished. He needs to throw down the force field to block everything from coming up. I don't know if that actually blocks. It looks like it barely does. He's just trying to buy himself time, and you see that Sentry is increasingly getting close to finish. His warp gate is almost done. He's going to get a huge surge of units.
It looks like he's going to try to get up. Now, if this Sentry can get another force field, whoa, totally botched.
Bad force field right there, but he is chasing down that one Hellion. In the meantime, the Marauders and Marines walking up the ramp a little bit, deciding to turn around, and Loner has taken an interesting tech switch back at home.
Oh, wow, take a look at that. Swapping all these add-ons and stuff, and Command Center over here.
That's right. It's like he's teching all at once, just switching everything up. Realized that that wasn't going to work out because of the Sentry. And it forced NEXGenius into making a lot of units, but already NEXGenius throwing up the Nexus. Very similar timing to the Command Center of Loner. These guys are mirrors.
And I'm not so sure I like this very fast robotics bay by NEXGenius. The big mistake Protosses make is to get a little too reliant on the Colossus, not only because it looks so cool, but also because it does a ton of damage. But without those gateway units, it's so weak.
Well, it looks like the Observer's seeing everything that Loner is up to. He is making that Banshee, which he loves so much. And, well, what do you think about this, Day 9?
Well, I mean, this is a great example of how economy management creates really good opportunities for players. In the time that Loner was doing this push, while he was doing those swaps with the buildings, he's not spending any money because all his unit-producing structures are in the air. With that money saved up, he throws down a command center. It's all those little timings that make these players so strong, as they know when they have what kind of resource and how to spend it.
That's right. Now, this Banshee is going to come over and start to do some harassment as soon as it pops out. And we're going to have to see if Loner's going to be as greedy as he was in that Xel'Naga game. He needs to keep the Banshee alive. It's such an expensive unit that just throwing it away for 3 or 4 probes normally results in Loner getting a little bit behind.
Now, he did see the Banshee, so he should be prepared for it. But then again, he doesn't really have a whole lot of anti-air here. Oh, nice 1 kill, 2 kills.
Looks like he's getting a third. He's trying to go for the 4th. He does get it, and he smartly pulls away. This was the mistake he made on Xel'Naga Caverns, being too aggressive with that Banshee. But 4 kills on probes is still 4 free kills.
Oh, and look at this.
5.
Beautiful by Loner, just flying that Banshee all over the place, trying to be unpredictable with it. But there are a lot of stalkers out. I wish that Loner would run this Banshee away, but it looks like, will he lose it? 10 hit points. Amazing. And it looks like he is going to go ahead and repair this unit while he walks up with siege tanks, Marauders and Marines, and a medevac. His stim, it's not quite half done. So if he attacks now, I'm not sure how well it'll do against this Colossus.
Yeah, I was about to say we have this Colossus out here. He's got to be very careful.
Targeting the Nexus.
But no range down yet on that Colossus, it seems, so that Colossus is not nearly as good. He's pushing for it. The Colossus takes about 100 hit points of damage. He's darting forward without any upgrades. This is like watching the last game in slow motion. He does not have any stim yet. He's going to try to get forward and actually pick up that Colossus. This could be a huge win for Loner.
Well, it looks like this is a very tense moment, and NEXGenius decides to start moving out, uses one force field. Looks like he wanted to cut part of that army off and kill it, because if he can kill even just a small part of the army, then suddenly his army is fighting two halves instead of a whole.
Well, you can see Loner staying aggressive, controlling this Xel'Naga watchtower. I don't know if he's aware that NEXGenius, of course, sees his every move, which makes it very difficult for the Terran to get into position.
And it looks like Loner right now, he's throwing up 3 more barracks, getting his upgrades. Stim almost complete, concussive shells on the way, and Viking production starting. So we're seeing very similar units come out of these players as the previous game.
And wow, still no range upgrade for NEXGenius. That is so the problem of trying to get those Colossi too fast. You cannot afford the upgrades and making Colossi and units at the same time. So those Colossi are significantly weaker. And now that Loner sees that he can put a lot of pressure on his opponent, NEXGenius doesn't really have a good time to get that essential range upgrade. And in the meantime, Loner is throwing down 5 barracks in his base. Gigantic force outside the front and already starting to gear up with some more Vikings.
Now, without that Colossus range, this is just such a huge deal. They really win because you keep them behind the units. They don't have as much health as most units that cost that much, so you have to block them off with the other units. Now, it looks like he's about to move out, but if the more open the territory, the worse it's going to be for NEXGenius.
Terran is intimidated and now retreating.
Uh-oh, I don't know if I like this at all. Oh, no, and there's Leroy Jenkins making yet another cameo appearance, and it looks like Loner is pulling back. Does he have siege mode? No, he just has tanks to be able to deal a lot of damage. Oh, only just now started siege mode. What a weird twist to have these players right up in each other's faces with the start positions.
You know, these bases are so close, and as Tasus was saying earlier, it's very hard to take a third base. I think that this game, especially with how slowly they took their third bases in the last games, we're going to see it end on 2 base. It's going to be a massive push from both sides. And if we take a quick look at the supply, very close right now. NEXGenius 123, Loner at 134.
Oh, nice snipe. Those Vikings are quite valuable. That's basically the anti-Colossus. And for the time being, NEXGenius seems to just be very comfortable on the map. I am really curious to see, though, when they're going to expand. They may even wait until they're about 170 supply before they get an expansion. Now, finally, that observer dies. I think Loner's suddenly realizing why every one of his moves was being spotted back there.
And it looks like that range upgrade is just now finished for NEXGenius. That was really the big point of that push. Just needed time to get the upgrade where it's so necessary. And there's this tank sieged up too late. He is having an amazing arc. This is the space that Loner has been needing all game long, but there are just too many zealots. Oh no, Loner trying to pull back, but look at how huge the army of NEXGenius is. Another Stim trying to pick off some more zealots, but really mainly trying to pull all of NEXGenius' units away from his own main.
This is not good for Loner. He needed to move out a little slower. He did have tanks with siege mode, which is kind of the Terran equivalent of the Colossus, but he sieged them as everything was running up. And as you see, his army is in shambles. NEXGenius has pulled far ahead here, 128 against 101 in supply. But if he attacks into the Terran, then things might not go as well as he wants.
So Loner knows he needs every little advantage he can get doing some good kiting against those zealots to try to pick them off.
We see he is moving in right now. NEXGenius looks like he does want to try to go for the kill.
Loner's gonna have to pull in from all sides. There's the Stim, and all the SCVs off mining as well, trying to do damage. The Zealots are just ripping through the Marauders at the front. The Vikings do manage to take out 1 Colossus, 2 Colossus falls, but will he have enough infantry to be able to clean up the ground gateway units? What really make those Colossi work? The last Colossus is down, but there's a huge gateway army right outside the front of Loner's base. The Vikings land, trying to clean up. Can he produce enough units in time?
I don't think
he's basically dead. He just hasn't left the game yet. I mean, yes, no SCV's mining here, just a mule.
Yeah, it lost too much economy there, even though he ended up killing most of that.
And there's the good GG. Wow, 3 in a row.
Yeah, it's looking quite close right now.
I mean, this is 3 wins in a row for NEXGenius against Loner, and this is the worst mental state to be in as Loner. You came in with a lead in the best of 3s, you lost 2, and then had a convincing loss in the first game. He really needs to buckle down and begin being a little more aggressive if he wants to win.
Yeah, you know, Loner, he's playing some great games, but you know, you think he should be a little bit more aggressive. I think he should be a little bit slower. Those siege tanks just running out into the middle of the map to siege,
well,
that is not good, man. He needs to just take his time, make sure his units are in the right positions. When he has siege tanks and Vikings, there's no excuse for losing to Colossus.